Hello everyone, welcome to the first lesson of probability in virtual reality. Today we're going to start using the language of probability to describe certain things and certain things that will happen. Certain things that will happen we have a very specific word for. We use the word outcome. Now, if we have a positive outcome, that's normally something that we want to happen, but if it's a negative outcome, that's normally something that we don't want to happen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to a presentation room where I will put up some images and some words to help us better understand how we're going to use probability language. At the end of the video, I'll put up a quick slide so that you can write down some notes and have things in a reference book ready for a test or an exam. Let's go. Alright, here's my chart. Now the chart goes from 0 or 0% all the way over to 1 or 100%. So when something is impossible, it can never happen, it's 0. So that would be an impossible outcome. If we go to the middle, it's an even chance. So it's just as likely that it's going to happen than it is not going to happen. Flipping a coin. Then we go all the way down the end to 1 or 100%, and that is certain to happen. It will always happen. Nothing else can possibly happen. It will always happen. If something's between even and certain, it is a likely chance. And if something is between even and impossible, it's unlikely. Now, there's varying degrees of unlikely, and we can use different words to describe just how likely or unlikely things are. So we have kind of and somewhat. So that's a little bit likely. So, or a little bit unlikely. If something is very likely or highly likely, then there's a pretty good chance that it's going to happen, but it's not certain. Something else could happen, we just don't know. Or we could say that something is very or highly unlikely, meaning that it's probably not going to happen, but there is still a small chance that it will happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into another world and we're going to start using the probability with some props. Here we are in a games world. So up here we have the chart from before to help you remember some of the words that we are going to be using in this topic. So let's first have a look at some of the things that are in this world. First up, we have a coin. We have a really big coin. I might stand back a bit more. So we have a heads, which is the number side. We'll call that a heads. And the empty side is called the tail side. So this has two different outcomes, a heads and a tail. So what's the chances that I'm going to get a heads? Well, there's two different outcomes, and each outcome is just as likely as the other. So this would be an even chance to get a heads or a tails. So let's see if we can get a heads. Oh, whoops, I threw it out. I got tails. Not my luck. Alright, so we also have here a giant dice. So we have all the sides, all the numbers of a regular dice. And here in the virtual world, things can weigh very little, and this dice weighs very little, but it is perfectly fair. There's no weighting to it. So what's the probability that I'm going to get a 6? Well, there's only one side that has 6. There's 5 other sides that do not. So the chances of getting a 6 is pretty unlikely because one side is a 6 and the other 5 sides are not. If I was to roll this dice, what's the chances that I'm going to get a 7? Well, there's no 7 on this dice, so we're not going to be able to. So it's going to be impossible to get a 7 on this dice. What if I was to, say, get a number of 2 or more? Well, let's have a look at the dice. So there's a 3, a 5, 6, a 4, and a 2. So there's 5 different sides that'll give me a 2 or more. So I'd say the chances of getting a 2 or more on a dice would be pretty likely. So keep using those probability words. So likely, very unlikely, somewhat likely, even, impossible, or certain. So let's head off to a room that has a spinner, and let's talk about the spinner. Alright, here we are in our spinner room. So here we have a spinner, we have some objects, and we have some blank spaces. Let's have a look at this spinner. What's the chances of it landing on an object side? Well, we can see that half of it doesn't, and half of it does have objects on it. So it would be an even chance. What if we now say we only want a cup? What's the chances of it landing on a cup? Well, there's only 2 cups here, and it's split up into 8 different pieces. So there's only 2 outcomes out of 8 outcomes that will land us on a cup. So I would say it's unlikely. What's the chances of it landing on the guitar? Well, there's only 1 guitar, so I would say that it's very unlikely. Alright, now what if I grab this cup and I take this cup away? What is the chances that it will now land on an object? Well, I would say that it would be somewhat unlikely. It's not 50-50. It's not an even chance anymore. So it would be somewhat unlikely or kind of unlikely. And conversely, the chances of it landing on an empty space would be somewhat likely or kind of likely. I hope this spinner and I hope the dice and the coin now explains how to use the language. Good luck with the questions, and I'm going to have a tea break.